Hey everyone, welcome back. So you should have finished your home view at this point, and now we're going to move on to the next part of our tutorial. If you've lost the tutorial box on top of your screen like I have, that's okay. Remember, you can always tap on the books icon over here and you can get started with the next part. Let's scroll down a little bit, and here we are. We are going to move on to the story tab, and we're going to create a scrolling narrative. Let's do that. Tap. Okay, so this is a story view where you can display a story about anything you want. Okay, preferably about yourself, and that's up to you. But let's take a look at the code. Okay, so first of all, it says try swiping up and down in the preview. Ooh, okay. You might not have noticed this before, but none of the views that we had before could actually scroll. Okay, so if you really want to, you can go back to the home view. Right, that's my ridiculous design again. And I'm here trying to scroll up and down. You cannot actually see me doing this, but I am desperately trying to scroll up and down and nothing is happening. Whereas inside the story view, it does scroll. And you can probably guess that this is because of a container view over here called scroll view. Okay, so that's new. Let's keep going. Alright, so when you're swiping up and down, you've noticed that the view scrolled. It's a helpful view if you plan on having a lot of content, like an article in a news app. Okay, good stuff. A scroll view makes it possible for people to scroll through your content if it exceeds the length of your screen. Okay, so one thing to keep in mind, your content will not scroll by default on an iPad OS app. So let's keep going. Alright, another fancy part of this page is the layout and all the modifiers that make it happen. So you notice that there's a whole bunch of modifiers, and these modifiers are attached to the VStack. Okay, so you can see over here, this is the VStack. It ends down here, and these modifiers are attached to the VStack. And it says try commenting out one modifier at a time to see how that affects the viewer behavior. Do you remember the keyboard shortcut? You can press Command/. So Command/ over here will remove the padding from the VStack, which means that it will not be stuck to the edges. So there's no more social distancing, right? So I'm going to bring it back by pressing Command/. Plot frame max width infinity. Let's see what that does. Oh, by the way, this bunch of keyboard shortcuts came down because I was holding on to the command key for too long. Don't panic if this happens to you. Just press command again and it'll go away. Okay, so Command/. And what this does is it shrinks the frame of your VStack down to just as much space as it needs. Many SwiftUI views only take up as much space as they need. But this way, by saying frame with a max width of infinity, it means take up as much space as you can. Alright, so it takes up all the space that it can. So if you see this in the full screen mode, you can tap on this button to see it in full screen mode. It will take up as much space as possible. And of course, if you press the run button, it will become full screen and it will of course take up as much space as possible. Next, this one says background in rounded rectangle, corner radius 15. Okay, let's just comment it out and see what happens. When you remove that, you no longer have a background with a rounded rectangle of corner radius 15. And you can try this out. You can try changing corner radius from 15 to some large number like 55 and get this nice little pill shape. Okay, up to you how you want to do it. And finally, there's another padding down here. This padding is not the same as this padding. Let's try removing this one. If you remove this one, what this does is it makes your entire thing closer to the edges, whereas this padding up here made the contents closer to its edges. Okay, I hope that kind of makes sense. There are two different sets of padding, and you can repeat modifiers. Just be aware that the modifiers order has an effect. Okay, so I'm going to bring these back by undoing them. All right, and finally down here, this one says background with an image of purple of opacity 0.5. If you remove it, you can probably tell, no more background. You cannot actually tell that this rounded rectangle exists. And one more thing you might notice is that this has an opacity modifier. If you change this to 0.9, it becomes a deeper shade of purple. Okay, so all these are really just different modifiers that you can play with. And now let's move on to the next part. And it's going to say, okay, well, you know what? Let's give a title to our story. All right, so in this case, your story. And I'm going to tell a little story about how I'm teaching coding in Swift Explorers. So Swift Explorers. Okay. And what's your name? All right, that's my name is YJ Soon. Oops, I wish I could type my name properly, but there you go. Okay. And there you go. Okay. Use dividers to section your story. Oh, that's a new view. Let's tap on add. And it adds a divider right there. Okay. So you can see it adds a nice horizontal line. Our corner radius doesn't really fit very well in this, so I'm going to reduce it back down to about 15 so it looks a bit less ridiculous. Okay, there you go. A lot more sensible looking. Okay, so use dividers anywhere you want. Okay, so this little thin gray line to just give some space and emphasis to different parts of your story. Okay, and the next part says, okay, take some time to write your story. Add these views below the divider and edit the text. Okay, so the padding modifier helps you ensure there's enough space. So let's just copy this, copy, and go down here, tap on the cursor, and you should be able to paste it. And you'll say, everyone knows that I just love ... And it's got this new thing called padding with top and bottom, which means that you have padding on top and below. But if you remove everything inside here, you've seen padding without these two things, right? Let's get rid of this real quick. What that does is it puts padding all around, top, bottom, left, and right. I can't tell if when I'm recording this is left or right, but you get the idea. Okay, so if you do it like this, with a square brackets around top and bottom, it means that there's padding on top of it and there's padding below it. Okay, and similarly for this just has padding at the bottom. You don't need this much padding at both top and bottom for this, although you can do that. You can say dot top, comma, dot bottom, and yes, that will add some padding above this and below this, but since there's padding below the previous paragraph, it becomes a little bit too much. So I don't think we need that much padding. So I'm just going to set this to have padding at the bottom. Okay, so I hope this kind of makes sense. And you can fill this in with as much text as you like. So everyone knows that I just love adding padding to my SwiftUI views. Something like that, right? My superpower is adding more modifiers than necessary to my SwiftUI views. Okay, so once you're done, you notice that, hey, wait a minute, this text right here seems to have overflowed a little bit. Let's leave it for now and we'll fix it afterwards. Okay, so next, depending on how much content you add, you might have hit an error that says extra argument at positions ... All right, so what this means is that at some point, you will notice that you cannot add that many things into a VStack. Okay, so what it means here is that over here, right, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 things inside my VStack. Let me just show you what it means by copying and pasting this code to add a few more items to this VStack. So I'm going to copy and paste these 3 things. Okay, tap on it and choose copy. Go down here and choose paste. Okay, so now you notice that it's repeated and I have 8 things, right? So 8 things, I have 2 pieces of text here, divider and 2 pieces of text, divider and 2 pieces of text. If I do it one more time, it's actually going to give me an error. And that's the error that they're talking about. Okay, and you'll notice that my preview doesn't load anymore. There's an error up here. If you tap on it, it's going to say extra argument in call. Okay, so what this means is that your VStack has too many things in it. Okay, your VStack currently has 11 things in it and it can only support up to 10. All right, all your stacks can only support up to 10 things inside each of them. And the way you're supposed to fix this is by grouping your items. So for example, I know all this is part of my header. So I'm going to put group, open curly brace, okay, enter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to position my cursor over here. And if I'm using my keyboard, I'm just going to hold down my shift key and press down, okay. And when I reach the end of it, this is what I want. Great. I'm just going to select it and choose cut and put it inside a group. So the group has combined 3 things into one. So where previously it saw that there were 11 items, now it thinks that there are 9 because 11 minus 3 plus 1 equals to 9. Yes, I got my math correct. Okay, and now you can see that all my stuff is there again. Okay, so just be aware of this. You cannot have more than 10 things per stack. Okay, you can have unlimited number of groups. You can have groups within groups. Perfectly fine. It makes no visual difference to your SwiftUI app, but it does make a difference to whether your code runs or not. So let's move on to the next part. Let's tap on next. Okay, and what they're suggesting now is add some images throughout your story. Okay, sure, you can add some image and text views within an H stack, and let's try this out. Okay, so I'm going to copy this. Okay, and let's place it somewhere at the bottom. Paste it over here. I'm just pressing Command V to paste, and you can see down here, okay, in my life, I feel most grateful for a placeholder. Well, I am quite grateful for this placeholder. That's great. Okay, you can, of course, add your own pictures, but I'm just going to say this awesome picture of Blue. Okay, not BLUE, BLU. BLU is the character, and I know that there's a file called Blue over here. There it is. It's awesome. I'm very grateful for it. Next up. Okay, try using dividers with different colored text to highlight or emphasize different parts of the story. Okay, and the way you do that is by using foreground color. Okay, foreground color, and you can also use italic. Okay, so let's try this. You'll notice that all this code that's given to you is in neat little groups. So if you copy it, right, all you do when you paste it in is you end up with one more item. But I suspect if I paste it, it might give me an error because, yeah, I've exceeded the number again. So I need to group a few more things together. Let's go group these 3 lines together over here. Group, open curly brace. And just to show you again, I'll do this without the keyboard. So I'm just going to use the touch screen. I'm going to tap on text, right? What that does is it selects the entire view. I want to use select as text over here, right? So tap on select as text. Then I'm just going to use my finger to select these pieces of code, tap on it again, choose cut, and paste it inside the group. Okay, so now it works again. If I scroll down, you'll see, there you go, right? Now I have text that has color, and I have text that is italicized, right? Notice that this has no padding. Maybe this could do with a padding at the bottom. Okay, remember you only need the square brackets if you're trying to apply padding in more than one direction. If you just want to apply padding in one direction, you can just type in the direction with a dot. Okay, so one other thing is if you edit your code right at the bottom, right, your view over here will scroll back to the top because it's actually reloading the entire view. So if you scroll down, right, and you should be able to see it, and there you go. Okay, so where is my padding over here, right? So there we go, get the most out of, oh, I think I added it to the wrong place. Okay, so I added bottom padding to this piece of text. I actually wanted to add bottom padding to this piece of text over here. So let's do that. Now here, dot padding, bracket, dot bottom. Okay, so if you just tap outside, right, the autocomplete goes away. You scroll back down, you can see, great, now I have a bit of padding. Okay, so I hope that kind of makes sense, right? Let's keep continuing. All right. And now if you want to add another story, try adding another VStack inside the scroll view. Okay, so lots and lots of stuff you can add. So let's press copy. Okay, and where's the end of our scroll view, right? So for you, this might get a bit harder and harder to navigate. You have a lot of lines of code. You have almost like 50 to 70 lines of code at this point, depending on how much you copied and pasted. All right, now you need to find the end of the VStack. So let's go find over here. Here you go. Here's the end of the VStack. I'm going to tap on this to select it. So tap on the word VStack. Okay, and see if we can find, sorry, once again, I didn't quite get that right. If you tap on the VStack, you only select the name of the view. I want you to tap on the curly brace before the VStack. Okay, great. Now if you scroll down, you will finally reach the end of the VStack, and your job is to paste this new VStack underneath. Right, so let's paste this over here. And what you can see is if you scroll down, right, you can see another story. Okay, lots and lots of stuff you can do over here. Let's keep going. Right, so finally, it's just telling you to, go ahead and make text, dividers, images, stacks, groups, colors, fonts, headings, make your story more dynamic and interesting. If you recall from earlier on, you might have noticed that my text was truncated just now, right? You might recall that when I made some changes over here, my text was truncated. It actually fixed itself, so that's great. One thing you might want to try is, if something goes wrong, it's okay to just exit to another view and come back to this view and see whether it's fixed by itself, okay? Some of this might take some getting used to. You will take a bit of time before you realize what is an error that you made versus an error that can be fixed by just reloading the page. So I seek your patience on this. Just try it out and don't worry too much about getting everything just right. Just make sure you add some stuff to this page, and when you're done, head back to content view and you can see it in the context of your tab bar app. So if we go down here, story, there you go. All right, I'll see you in the next video.